Wow, maybe now I can be seen tonight. Well, my whole day today has been, if it had not been for technical difficulties, this day would not exist. So, we're going to try one more time. There have been a few difficulties, but we're going to move forward. Numerous difficulties. For some reason, I cannot log in and do live from my computer. I couldn't do live from Zoom because I had a guest tonight. Our guest won't be able to be on because technical difficulties. So we're going to move forward anyway. We're definitely going to start with the deep breathing. For those of you, if it's your first time, the deep breathing allows us to decompress. As you take in air slowly, breathing deeply, it will fill your body, it will fill your lungs, oxygen will flow better through your body and your brain, and it can calm your body. It can allow your brain to get more oxygen, and you will be able to decompress and think clearly. As I said earlier, before when I really wasn't on, sometimes you can see someone, they're so angry, they're just can't even breathe because of the anger. And in that case, you're generally making bad decisions. So let's start with some deep breaths to the count of 4. As I breathe in, as I count you in, you'll breathe in slowly and then you'll breathe out. So let's breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully that allowed you to decompress a little. Trust me, I needed a little compression today. So I'm glad you're here. And as I said, we had a guest today. Our topic is still athletes, anxiety, and you. This was prompted by Simone Biles backing out of the Olympics because of her mental well-being. She knew she was not doing well mentally. Now let's take a moment and just talk about her situation. She is a gymnast. A gymnast of her caliber is turning their body around in midair, having to know exactly where and how to land. They know the spot they need to land on. Because if you don't land properly, you could lose points or you could harm yourself. So if you are in the middle of the air and you are not clear, your head is not focused, it could be detrimental, not just to your career, but detrimental to your life. You could fall and actually harm yourself. So when she said she couldn't do it, she knew she couldn't do it. There were many that came out, oh, she was a quitter, she was this. No, she's a person who knows the value of mental health. When Naomi Osaka did not finish, was not the French Open, I'm flustered because we had to make changes at the last second. She got lots of flack as well that, oh, how dare, she's being paid. She can do that interview. What's wrong with her? Our mental health is important. And as I always say, mental health is health. We cannot separate physical, mental, and spiritual health. I'm going to remind you, if you've ever seen this show, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When you impact one, you impact the other. My example is this. Let's start with physical health. If you are physically ill, if you have chronic pain, or if you just have the flu, heaven forbid it's COVID, and you stay sick a long time, you can feel sad, depressed. It may cause anxiety because you feel like you can't get well again. So then if your physical health and your mental health are impacted, your spiritual health can be impacted because, Lord, why me? Why am I having to go through this? Or let's say it's the other way around. It's your mental health that's impacted and you're depressed. Often people who are depressed don't sleep well. They may overeat or undereat. So your physical health is going to be impacted if you're not taking in the proper nutrition. What if you can't sleep? Then you become sleep deprived. Or you don't eat. Well, if you don't eat, you're going to be, your nutrition and your body is not going to respond, and now you're going to be physically ill. It's just it's one together. So when we look at people who state their mental health is not well, is not right, we've got to understand and acknowledge that. The guest that I was supposed to have tonight was someone who manages, who has depression, who has anxiety issues. And I'm not going to tell a lot of this story because we're going to make this happen and they're going to come back. Our next session will be getting ready for the new school year, and I'll have our teacher and counselor panel come back. But we're going to have them come back in September because it is very, very valuable to hear from a person. So I'm going to switch up tonight. We're not going to say, oh, well, the guest couldn't make it. We had technical difficulties. I still want to talk about athletes, anxiety, and you. So here's some things about that. And when I love research, I love reading. And one of the things, the issues that came up for parents, if you're going to be a star athlete, you're going to push yourself to the limit, physically as well as mentally. So here's what happens. You push yourself and push yourself. Talk to anyone who is a professional athlete. Let's talk about football players, because I've talked to a couple recently in the last couple of months. Their bodies are broken down. And you find now some football players who in their career early, because it's like, I need to have a body left. Or some, they blew out that knee or something happened. It's like, you can't do it anymore. And you have lifelong repercussions. So your body is going to be broken down if you're a professional athlete. That's just part of it. And you take care of your body, but you're pushing yourself and pushing yourself to that limit so that it's going to take wear and tear on your body. It can also take wear and tear on your mental well-being as well, because you're never good enough, or that might be how you feel. You're just never good enough. You're always having to push one step a little further, and always feeling never good enough is not good. How do I function? How do I thrive? How to move on? I'm not good enough. It becomes very personal. You just feel like you're just not good enough. In the last couple of years, you're finding more and more athletes who are admitting to depression, for instance. Michael Phelps, awesome swimmer. After his Olympic wins, he talked about his depression, because they're in such a position where I've got to be better. I got to be better. So how does that translate to children? How do you deal if you're a parent of a young child and they show great promise in their athletic ability? Where is that balance? And this is a hard question. Or what if you're that parent and you want them to have that great promise? It's your dream and you're pushing and pushing. Where is the line between pushing them to achieve their best or letting them say no? See, we don't want to raise children to give up. I am definitely not saying that. It's like, I don't want to do it. It's too hard. Well, we all have to go past that, a little past the point of it's too hard. But where is the line of it's too hard to I don't want to try? Because you don't want the idea of, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. If something's too hard, I just won't do it. So as parents, that is an individual thing. It isn't a cookie cutter answer. It is, for me, to tell you, I don't know. Where is the line of letting your children find out what's best for them? That is something parents have to answer. But here's some things to consider. First off, it's knowing your child and knowing the limits. It's also allowing yourself to know, who's running this show? Am I allowing my child to achieve their dreams? Is this something they really want? Am I pushing them to the point where I see anxiety in my child to reach this goal? If it's a goal to be the captain of the football team, if it's a goal to be the head cheerleader, if they're, let's say it's not athletics, let's say it's in the arts, maybe they're a musician and they want to make first chair, you do have to push yourself. And even not just in athletic realms, but anything that involves competition, you've got to push and push and push. But there's a point where it's okay to stop and say, I got to push back. Where is that fine point? First, you define it for yourself. How many of you know where that line is for you? Here are some things to consider. Think about what anxiety is. As I said, our guest tonight was going to talk about how anxiety impacts them physically. We've talked about the definition of anxiety, and part of the definition of anxiety is that your body is impacted. There are physical symptoms. So know yourself and understand yourself and know that when you are anxious, what does your body feel like? For some people, they literally get sweaty palms, or they're cold and clammy on their skin. For some people, their voice quivers. They're not able to just speak in the same manner. For some people, their tone changes, and it's a timid tone because they're afraid to move out. For some people, it's heart palpitations. You literally feel like your heart is going to jump out of your chest. You can't breathe. Back to breathing. Some people can. It's like, okay, yeah. When it gets really out of control. Some people, it's almost like a brain fog. You just can't think. It's like, okay, I know what I need to do. I can't get it together. I just don't know. So know your body. What does your body tell you? Anxiety is not just something that adults manage. Children do too. So we were talking about parents and children and how do you manage them with pushing them to be their best, but not pushing so far you push them over the edge. It could be sports. It could be academics. It could be the arts. It could be anything that you want to compete in. Where is that line? Know your child and watch your child. What are their limits? When they're talking about things, do their hands just go in a fist? If I've seen some children, it's just automatically their hands become a fist when they're upset or anxious, and they're not even aware of it. I see it in adults and I see it in children as well. And I'll say, do you realize you're making a fist? And they look, oh, no, I didn't know. If you have a child, begin to see what are the things that make them anxious. Think about it for yourself. I will share my story with anxiety. I had a job that was causing me much anxiety. And guess what? The good therapist here didn't realize that's what was going on, that it was anxiety. Because it's nothing I'd ever dealt with. But I remember I'd go through moments where I felt like, wow, my heart was just beating so fast. And I didn't know what was going on. And it would go and I would just feel lightheaded and feel horrible, just that general malaise. I thought, well, maybe I'm sick. Let me go to the doctor. I went to the doctor and, talked to her about my symptoms. So the doctor did an EKG. And after doing the EKG, she said, you must be under some stress. I said, yeah, my job is stressful. I'm planning to quit. And I laughed because it's not funny. The EKG suggests that the stress you're under is more stress than your heart can manage. And if you keep on, your heart is not going to work for you. In other words, if you keep this job, it will kill you. My heart is fine. It was the stress that I was under that was impacting my heart. Just think about that. The stress that I was under, the anxiety that I was feeling was impacting my heart. I did quit the job. But I had already planned to. But I like living more than I like money. I didn't need to be broke, so I found something else. And I did leave. But I share that to say it's real. And so those were my symptoms. I didn't realize that, which is why I want to talk about how just different people have different symptoms and how those symptoms are so real. For using the example of Simone Biles, she talked about the twisties and, I'm in the air and I'm twisting and I don't know where my body is going. How scary that must be. But if you're not the athlete, not the person trying to get first chair, not the artist who's trying to win a competition, just a regular Joe Blow person like myself, it can still be scary. Because when I didn't know what was going on and I was lightheaded and my heart was beating fast, it was scary. Because I'm like, what is going on with me? Am I ill? What is going on? And, it took me a minute. I kind of stayed in denial. And finally, after one episode where I had to drive 30 minutes in 5 o'clock traffic, and I'm not a traffic driver, and it was going to be it was going to be about an hour drive. It was a regular 30-minute drive, but in 5 o'clock traffic, it's about an hour. And the thought of driving in traffic, feeling that way was pretty scary. So, I had to go and I did do the deep breathing and manage everything. And I was like, okay, I got to do this. And that's when, I made the doctor's appointment on the way home. So we need to realize, what are your stressors? What does it feel like in your body? Be in tune with your body. As I said, we're going to recall the guests. We're going to figure out all those kinks. But I wanted to still talk about it. There are so many more people who are feeling anxiety as a result of COVID. I've said before, and I say again, 2020 will have long-term impact on all of us. Why? It was the craziest, most divisive election cycle we have ever experienced in modern times. Then we had COVID. We had the Black Lives Matter grew because of what was going on. And there was more light put on things that were happening to African Americans by the police, and we saw it daily. So in 2020, every time if you turned on the news or just the television, you were bombarded with things that were negative, things that were scary, things that were harmful physically and mentally to people. And people are still suffering from that because the issues of 2020 still are there. COVID is now back on the rise. There's some people, I'm still hearing people say it's not real. They don't believe it exists, but I kind of believe the science and think it's real. Not kind of, I believe it is real. I see things from, I see posts from people saying that the COVID numbers are going up in hospitals. We don't see the numbers going up because people are not being tested. So we don't know the real numbers, but what we do know is that hospitalizations are going up. We know that people who are sicker and in the hospital have not been vaccinated. We see that. We see that people who are vaccinated may get sick, but they are less likely to die and less likely to be have longer illnesses and more severe illnesses. So we see this, so it's real. So this is an ongoing issue that has not gone away. That right there causes anxiety. People are having to go back into the workforce. So even though we see things going up, jobs are saying, well, this was our date to go back and you're coming back in. I have talked to clients and people individually, friends who are concerned about going back in. What does going back in mean? I don't want to sit next to somebody. They're not going to wear masks. I know people at my job, they don't care. I'm afraid. I've talked to parents, especially of elementary children who can't get the vaccine, and they're going back and there are no restrictions. So it's back to 20 plus children in a classroom next to each other. And I love my little elementary kids, but they're all just little germ carriers. And so those little germ carriers will be all in one room, crowded together, not having to wear a mask. You don't have the opportunity to wash your hands every time you do something. So lots of germs will be spread. That's just the reality because that's what happens anyway. So you have teachers who are anxious about going back into this situation. Some who have had COVID and had to manage COVID and don't want it again and are afraid. You have parents who say, I know my child needs to get back. Being at home was not good for them. But they're anxious and they're afraid. So all of this is real. So we've looked at this broad range. What is anxiety? And so it's like there's so many areas that can make you feel anxious. The as I said earlier, just a need to succeed. And that even ties in with the school. You want your kids to go back and be successful. So you want them to get back into the swing of things and go and do what they need to do. Some children are anxious because they know that in last school year, in the world of COVID and online instruction, they didn't excel as much as they should have. I have talked to young elementary kids. I'm talking first, second, third, fifth, sixth, specifically. Those are the grades of the kids I have talked with recently, who are afraid of school, not because they don't want to go back to school. They're not afraid of COVID. They're afraid they won't succeed because they know they didn't learn enough. That is, excuse me, how a child put it to me. I didn't learn enough, so I don't think I'm ready, so I think I'll fail this grade. So they're starting the school year. Think about that. That's a sense of anxiety. And that person's only 8 years old, and they're starting the school year with anxiety. So parents, aunties, uncles, friends, neighbors, if you have children in your life, don't ask them, are they nervous about school, but see how they're feeling. Find out if there is some anxiety that they're dealing with. And just ask them simply, are you excited about going back to school? How do you feel about it? And get their feel. They'll tell you. Like I said, I talked to an 8-year-old. He said, well, I didn't learn enough last year, so I think I'm going to fail. Well, here's some things, and we talked about some things you can do. And one thing you can tell them, you know what? Just like you don't think you learned enough last year, 50% of your class didn't learn enough either. And teachers know this. Teachers are ready to sort of help you get through that last year again before you start this year. And that is true. You're not lying to them. Teachers know that many students didn't do well in the virtual environment. So I'm talking elementary right now. They know that, man, they don't know what they're going to get. They're going to have some kids who excelled. The spread will be further. Some who excelled greatly, some who didn't. Some parents who helped, some who didn't, not because they just didn't, some didn't have the ability to. So it's going to be a wide range, but it is causing parents anxiety. It is causing kids anxiety. Like we were saying with that in the beginning about athletes and people who are competitive, there is that desire to always be better, that push to be better, that can cause an undue stress when it's overdone. Well, the same thing is academic. Kids who are, I don't know what to do. Some normal anxieties kids face are starting a new school year, or kids who are going to a new school. Am I going to make friends? Am I going to do this? Are they going to think something's wrong with me? Am I this? Am I that? All of these things go through a child's mind. So if you have a child in your life, talk to them. As I said, don't ask them, are you nervous? Don't plant the seed. Just see if they are. They'll tell you. It's like, how are you feeling about this? How are you feeling about the new school year? But not like, oh, how are you feeling about the new school year? There's so much in tone. It's like, wow, new school year starting. For some, it's already started. And in the next 3 weeks, by the next 3 weeks, pretty much everybody will be back. So it's already starting. So have those conversations. Not to, as I said, not to push the anxiety, but to at least see where are they with the anxiety. Is it something that they're experiencing? If so, find ways to help alleviate it. Find ways to make things real for them in a way that's age appropriate. If you don't know, seek help. Ask a professional who can help you find ways to help them manage that. If you're the adult who is experiencing anxiety, if you're the adult who wants to achieve, if you're the overachiever, such as the athlete, the musician, the artist, the competitive person who always wants to be better and you come in second, does that mean that you're less than? No, it means somebody just at that moment in time beat you at that skill. But are you anxious or don't feel good about yourself because of that? That truly happens. So tonight is all about thinking about the things in your life that could cause some kind of anxiety. If it's you, get some help. But I also want to say, if you know someone, encourage them to get help. Be open-minded, and we can look at someone else, where I'll go back to the Naomi and Simone saga, as people see it, as they're just quitters. You're not in their shoes. Everyone who's under the sound of my voice and everyone who exists, you are a result of every moment in your life that happened to today. The good, the bad, the ugly. How you experience something today is based on who you are personally. So for one person, what might cause an undue amount of stress, it might not cause another person that stress, because that person hasn't had the same set of experiences. Even identical twins who grew up in the same house, who had the same life experiences, are still different. And what impacts one twin could impact another one differently, because they are different people. And we each process our own feelings differently. We process the situation. So when you see someone who is, you're like, really, you let that bother you? Oh, please, if you know what I had to go through. Yes. And just because you're going through something that may be 10 times worse doesn't mean that what that other person is going through isn't bad for them. As I say, you don't know what happened before. Example, I had a very interesting day today that started at 5:30 a.m. And actually getting things done started yesterday. And having to push through and go through and get everything done. And it was a bit stressful, just because I need to get things bam, bam, bam. Here's my checklist. I need to check them off. Well, they were not checking off, not in a timely manner. So the list had to be rerouted. And after it was rerouted, it still wasn't checking out, and it had to be rerouted again. And that's just sometimes how it is. For some people, it would have thrown them totally off kilter because they can't stand for things to change. For others, it's no big deal. For me, I was somewhere in the middle. So however you process your anxiety, your day, it's you. Don't beat yourself up, but don't beat somebody else up because they don't handle it. And you're someone who goes with the flow and you're easygoing. As the saying goes, blessed are the flexible because they'll never get bent out of shape. You're flexible. You're not going to get bent out of shape. You're just going to go with the flow, whatever. That is awesome, as if that is you. But that is not everybody. So what causes one person that anxiety? It may roll off your back, but there may be a day where one little thing pushes you over the edge. Just be attuned to that. So we're going to end it, probably about 2 or 3 minutes early, because I do want to get to our call to action. As I said, we had a guest. Through technical difficulties, the guest was not able to be on, and we'll have them on. But I did want to continue with the topic and acknowledge that if that's you that has some anxiety, you're in good company. You're in good company. Many people are. Acknowledge it, which leads to our call to action. If you are experiencing anxiety, depression, or any other mental illness, anything in your mental health is not where you want it to be, acknowledge it and own it. I'm real big on saying you need to own your mental health issues. You know why? If you own it, you can take control of it and you can do something about it. If I don't own it, it's not mine. If I don't say, this is my issue, it needs fixing, I need to fix it. If I'm busy saying, oh no, I don't have that problem, it's not me, then I can't change it. I can't fix it. So if you're experiencing any kind of mental health issues, seek help. You're not the only one. They wouldn't have a name for it. If you were the only person who was experiencing anxiety wouldn't have a name. It has a name because millions of people before you will have had it, and millions after you will have it. When you're in the middle of going through something, you don't have to go through alone. I'll get to that in a second. If you know someone who is having mental health issues, be that support. As someone says, recognize it so that you're going through. And don't be embarrassed or in denial. It is nothing to be embarrassed about. As I said, it's got a name because people before you had the same issue. They had the same feelings. They had the same problems. Don't judge anybody for any reason. You're not in their shoes. So if it's you, own it and say, it's mine, get help. I am a licensed professional counselor, a certified Christian counselor, and a life coach, and I'm here to help you. You can message me and just say, please give me a call. I will do that. And if I'm not the therapist for you, that's fine. I don't have to be. I am not the end-all, be-all thing. I'm it. No, I will help you find someone. I think it's important that you seek help. Why? Because the therapist is the one that can have that objective view, who's trained to see things, to help you see things in you. So it can, yes, it can free you. It can free you up when you're like, oh, Lord, I don't have to hold this burden alone. And the last two things that are a call to action are remain COVID aware. Yes, it causes stress, but be aware so that you don't have to be stressed. Wear your mask. Do what it takes to keep yourself physically healthy, because as I said in the beginning, physical health and emotional health, they're tied together. You impact one, you impact the other. And I always like to end by saying be a part of in terms of call to action, be a part of the political process. Be an educated voter. Some of the things that stress us out are things that are happening in the world, and some of them are impacted by our political leaders, our elected officials. Be aware. If you don't like some things that are going on, be aware of the voting process. In the early fall, we're going to have someone come on to talk about how to be politically aware, how to find out how to write your congressmen, your senators, how to be aware and what to do. So we're going to address that. I am Bronwyn Lucas, the Caring Counselor, and as always, Black mental health is Black health. Take care of your mental health, take care of yourself. Throughout August, we're every other week, so I will see you in 2 weeks, and we'll be ready to talk about getting those little darlings ready for school and how to manage that for parents, for teachers, and for children. And remember, their anxiety may be up. Talk to them, not about so much about are you anxious, but helping them, help you find out where they are so you can help them. I will see you in 2 weeks.